guys, so today's video is going to be the last vlog of my Philippines series. The 2 days before we left for Coron, I did spend some time with my dad's side of the family. I was not feeling well because I was still recovering from being sick, so I didn't whip out my camera that often, but I do have some pictures that I'm going to be inserting in between these 2 days. Actually, my dad was the one who picked up Derek and I from the airport, and my dad had been in the Philippines for already 2 weeks before I had gotten there, and this was my first time seeing him, so it was nice to kind of catch up and see what he had been doing during his vacation. And we headed over to my auntie Ikung's house and spent the night there. And again, this is a place where I spent a lot of my time when I was a kid, so being back in that home was very nostalgic for us, so I'm glad we got to spend at least one night over there. The next morning we went over to my dad's friend's condo because that's where we were going to be spending the night. And this condo was beautiful. It was in a very metropolitan area, so it was kind of nice seeing that part of the Philippines, and it had this really awesome view of the city. As soon as we got settled in, we dropped off our stuff and headed over to lunch with my auntie Stella and the rest of my aunts and uncles who had been in town. So we had a Japanese lunch and it was really nice. I wish I had been more hungry to really enjoy the food, but the company itself was enough, and I'm glad I got to see, you know, family that I would normally not see all at the same time. After that, a couple hours passed and we headed over to my Uncle Feli's house and spent our dinner over there. And again, this was a house where I spent even more time at because that's where my grandmother used to live when she was still with us. So this was a house where I have very fond memories in, and I'm glad I got to spend time catching up with my cousins Lenny and Carl, and even seeing like baby pictures of myself that I'd never seen before. So the next morning we had to wake up super early because we were heading to Coron, and as we were checking in for our flight, I had this really crappy realization that I had forgotten my extra charger and battery at my aunt's house. It was still plugged in the place that we stayed, and I forgot to grab it. So I was really upset that I knew that I had this, you know, restriction on my recording. So unfortunately, during the last day of our Palawan trip, I do not have footage of, or very minimal footage. So just to warn you. But anyway, so by the time we arrived in Coron, it was already 4 o'clock, and we checked into our hotel, and it was a beautiful resort. It was called the Garden Soleil, and where our room was, we were right in front of the pool. We kind of just decided to stay in because the way that Coron is, it's not like a beachside city or town. It's not like Boracay where you just like walk to the beach and, you know, you're there. This is one of those places where you kind of have to take a catamaran to get to all of the different locations. So that was just a nice chill night because the next morning we had to wake up super early for our trip around the island, and we took a catamaran to 7 different locations, and I only have footage for at least 3 of them because the other locations were snorkeling locations, and I forgot, or you know, I didn't think to bring a GoPro, which is so silly because I knew we were going to be snorkeling. So unfortunately I don't have too much footage from the snorkeling locations, but the other 3 locations were beautiful. The first place that they took us to was Kayangan Lake. We were actually one of the first boats to get there, so when we got there, there were like no people there. And once we pulled in, we had to walk through the dock and take a little hike to get to the swimming area. And the hike was not strenuous at all, and this is coming from someone who does not really hike that often. So once we had to hike up the stairs, you see all the different like limestone formations around you. The water was crystal clear. This lake is actually supposed to be the cleanest lake in Asia, and because the water is primarily fresh water, it was perfect. It was not cold at all, and honestly I could have stayed there the entire time. So we swam there for about 30 to 40 minutes, and as soon as we were pretty much wrapping up our time there, a bunch of different catamarans started to pull up, and there was a slew of people starting to arrive. So we had the best timing, and I'm glad that was the first place we went to. So the next place we went to was the Twin Lagoons, and the Twin Lagoons is really cool because it's basically where saltwater and freshwater meet. And where we pulled up was the first lagoon, and we docked there. And then once you dock, you have to swim underneath this crevice to get to the second lagoon. So after the Twin Lagoons was a snorkeling spot, and then we went over to Sunset Beach to have lunch. And this was a beautiful lunch. Once we pulled in, we saw huts with picnic tables, and literally the water was right underneath us. So we had a beautiful view while we were eating our lunch, and our lunch was awesome. I was honestly very surprised by the spread. There was fresh crab, there was barbecue pork, grilled fish, and vegetables, and of course, rice. So after lunch, we headed over to a couple different snorkeling spots. One of them was Skeleton Wreck, and Skeleton Wreck was actually sunken Japanese ships. And we pretty much saw the ships at the bottom, of course, from afar though, because we weren't scuba diving, and several different kinds of fish. And then we headed over to Coral Garden, and Coral Garden was supposed to be the highlight of all the snorkeling spots in our entire tour. After that, we headed back to our dock. So our day pretty much ended there. We got back around 5 o'clock, and we decided to have dinner afterwards. So we kind of cleaned up and then went to Altrove. And Altrove is an Italian restaurant. And I know Italian restaurant in the Philippines could be a little bit sketchy, but it actually turned out to be really good and very inexpensive. Derek and I ordered a margarita pizza and pasta and a couple drinks, and our bill turned out to be like $20. So we were pleasantly surprised with the quality of food and also the price, which was great. And then that night we slept really early because we were exhausted. The next day we had another full day, but we decided to kind of just stay in for the first half because we were tired. We laid out by the pool, we both read some books and had a couple of drinks. So that was a really nice chill day. That evening we decided to hit up the hot springs, and we took a 30-minute tricycle ride to get to the destination. And right as I was recording a pano of the hot spring, my camera died. So I'll insert some pictures and some iPhone footage, but it was a really nice hot spring because it was next to the ocean. So that was a really nice scenic hot spring that we visited. And then the next morning we packed up our things and headed over to the airport. So as soon as we arrived back at my auntie's house, we packed up our things as fast as we could because we were going to have a awesome last dinner with my family. And my aunties prepared for us a boodle fight. And basically what a boodle fight is a long table of food, and on the table are banana leaves, and these banana leaves basically act as your plate. So you don't use any utensils, no spoons, forks, plates, nothing. We ended up just sleeping for 2 hours before heading back to the airport to go back home to San Francisco. And we arrived, I think, early in the morning, and by the time we got out of customs, we were picked up and headed straight to In-N-Out for our first meal back. So we had the best time, and I'm so very grateful for my experience there, even though we were just there for 2 weeks, and I can't wait to plan my next trip there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this footage, and I'm glad I got to record this and share this with you guys. So I hope you guys are having a really good day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.